Hey, everybody, Off the Mic Sports Network here. Another edition of Off the Top Rope reacting to AEW Dynamite. Gave a big picture overview. You can go watch that here. I was a little bit disappointed with what happened on Dynamite this week. I was happy Jamie Hayter beat Kris Statlander in the main event, which was an Owen Hart Cup semifinal. She faces Mercedes Mone at Double or Nothing, almost 2 years to the day that she was beaten for the Women's World Championship and by Toni Storm, by the way. And this was before the Timeless gimmick. And in a short match, she was hurt. She got written off television, and she wasn't seen for over a year. So it's good that Jamie is getting a little bit of a push here. Now, what does this lead to? And this is my big question of one of the big things that I'm looking out for in the next month in AEW. Does AEW go for, hey, let's go for the redemption arc and let's have Jamie Hayter face, Toni Storm for the Women's World Championship at All In, even if it's not in London and it's a year too late? Does that happen? Or does Mercedes Mone win the Owen and then simultaneously go to Texas and then win the championship there? Like, there's also some people throwing out that maybe, Athena potentially costs Mercedes to set up their match at All In London. We'll see. But based off the way that this has been structured and the way this tournament has been presented, I'm led to believe that Mercedes Mone is going to win in Glendale, in Arizona, in the next month at Double or Nothing, because, and it frustrates me. Like, look, I understand it. She's got a ton of creative control. She's getting paid a ton of money. She's got a big brand. She's got a big name, and she's wrestled a lot of fantastic matches. Her character sucks. That's what I've been saying for weeks. And it's just like, you compare that and juxtapose it with some of the characters and some of the women that are working in NXT and in WWE. It's easy to see why WWE moved off of her. And I think this is a perfect opportunity for her to take her first loss to a Jamie Hayter. And, ultimately Jamie gets the opportunity to win back the women's championship that, frankly, she should have been in the mix for a lot sooner than this. So it's nice to see her back where she belongs. But this was her whole build was off to a terrible start. From returning in London on the pre-show, she's feuding with Saraya, who's no longer there. She's just been all over the place. She took some losses to Julia Hart, and it's been a whole lot of nothing. But it's, like I said, it's nice to see that they went that route and went with a different route, because we've already seen the 2 Kris Statlander matches with Mercedes, and that was for the championship. But it's just like, now we're looking here. We're going to be now at 2 back-to-back pay-per-views where the TBS title hasn't been defended. I mean, they haven't even bothered defending it since this tournament started. They haven't even bothered defending it. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? They're coasting so they can get Mercedes to the end of the line and get her past Jade's, Jade Cargill's TBS championship record. That's what this is. And so, unfortunately, what I think is going to happen, the superstar that I think deserves it is Jamie Hayter. She should win, but I don't think she will. The way this has been presented, it just feels like, because what happened? Let's compare and contrast these things. So what happened after Mercedes beat Athena? Immediately, Toni Storm comes out, and they stare down each other. What happened? Jamie Hayter beats Kris Statlander, and immediately Mercedes Mone comes out. No Toni Storm, nothing. That's it. What does that tell you? Mercedes is winning. There's more priority and more investment in her. And also, side note, Jamie Hayter said some things about CM Punk that were very favorable towards CM Punk. And we know how Tony Khan feels about, the people that think favorably of this former hero who, told him he's a hack and, told him he sucks as a boss and quit at their biggest show of the year a couple years ago. So it's just like, when I look at this whole situation, it's just like, I kind of know where this is going. And a lot of people are going to be really mad about this. This is a real litmus test to see if Tony Khan, just like Dynasty was. This is a real litmus test to see if Tony Khan is willing to do the right thing for AEW long term. because the right thing to do long term is very crystal clear. It's very clear. The right thing to do, despite even the banner of like, hey, Mercedes and Tony is a money match. I will admit that, but it sends a horrible message to this locker room that you're going to have the TBS champion just try to be a double champion when she's already carrying a million belts. That's the other reason why this isn't going to work. Rather, you go with the organic superstar that people love who lost her championship. There's a natural build there. She hasn't held the women's championship in 2 years. So it seems like naturally at the pay-per-view where she lost it, she wins it. So I'm holding out a little bit of hope that they'll do the right thing and maybe they set up, Athena versus Mercedes, but Mercedes hasn't taken a loss. So she's going to take a loss here she's going to take a loss here at the expense of potentially facing Athena. What does that do? It's just like, I don't get it. Like it's there. It's a really, interesting position. And I know a lot of sickos are going to be hanging on it. And a lot of people who love Mercedes think that she should win. Guys, I'm telling you, for the betterment of AEW and for this women's division, the best possible outcome for this is Jamie Hayter beats Mercedes Mone at Double or Nothing. I don't think it'll happen. Maybe it will. I'm bound to be surprised. But based off what you saw at Dynasty, they had a chance to veer off and just, do something interesting and give Swerve Strickland the championship, and they didn't do it. An organic star that's over, and they favored of going into the long-term story that they've been telling for a while that hasn't really connected with the audience. It's the exact same thing with this women's division. Nobody really cares about this Mercedes thing except for the diehards and her fans. Nobody cares about this. And yes, admittedly, while Mercedes and Toni Storm is a dream match in the landscape of women's wrestling, doing it at the expense of the TBS championship and making this a championship versus championship match doesn't really do anything for me. And I think their goal is to make Mercedes the belt collector and, have her break Jade Cargill's TBS championship record and just do all of this because that's what they think is best for business. And it's not. It's not. So again, I'm bound to be surprised, but I'm not very optimistic about this. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.